Mr. Potter. One of the most important data structures that we're going to be dealing with in the AP class is the ArrayList constructor, and the ArrayList data structure. And the ArrayList allows us to manipulate data much more consistently through methods than an array allows us to do. The whole idea with an array is that I have to set the size of the array, and then later on, if I end up having more than that size, I have to resize the array. I have to copy all the elements from one array to another array. And if I end up removing elements from the array, I still have to move the elements in the array. The array list actually takes care of all of that packaging for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our usual import java.util. And then here is going to be ArrayList, which is going to allow me to use ArrayLists. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how I create an ArrayList. So an ArrayList is a templated class. When I create an array of objects, I have to, I'll do something like string array gets new string 10. And I'm setting the type. The type is set to be a string. And I'm setting the size. The size is set to be 10. And so this is how I would declare an array of strings. If I wanted to do something with an array list, what I do is I use the ArrayList type, but in angled brackets, I'm going to put the type that this ArrayList will hold. So this is an ArrayList that will hold strings. And I'll go ahead and call this AL. Gets new ArrayList string. And because this is a constructor, I do need to have some type of parameter list. The default parameter list works wonderfully here. So what I've done is I've created an array list of strings. And at this point, if I were to just system.out.println AL and run this, time flies when we're having fun. notice what it does is it prints out an empty array. Currently, our array list contains nothing. So what I want to do is I want to add elements to this array list. And if this was just a regular array, an array with no cells in it, then I would have to resize the array in some way before I could put things in a particular index. It's much more straightforward here. I just tell my array list to add. And so I'm going to add an apple. And then I'm going to add a banana. And I'm going to add a cantaloupe. And now if I system.out.println AL. Now if I run this, then I'm going to see my new array, which contains 3 elements: apple, banana, and cantaloupe. Now, what's important to realize is that this is not an array. I can't access the elements using the bracket notation that we had. If I try and do system.out.println AL sub 1, which should print out the element banana in here. If I try and run this, it's going to give me an error. It's going to say, I have no idea how to do that. What we have to do instead is I would have to do system.out.println, and I would have to ask Al to get what's in position 1. And of course, the get method would actually return the string that is contained in position 1, the second position in my array list, and so it prints out a banana. So I've got the add and the get, and I can also do remove. So if I wanted to tell Al to remove whatever's in position 0, not only does it remove, in this case, apple, but everything else gets shifted down 1. So if I do system.out.println Al, I'm going to see that my apple is now gone, and my array list contains the elements banana and cantaloupe. And now banana has this new position 0. Cantaloupe has this new position 1. And I can continue to manipulate this afterwards. I can say al.add durian, and then a1.add eggplant. And if I go ahead and print these out again, system dot out dot print line AL. Then now I've got my new array list, which now contains 4 elements. It contains banana, cantaloupe, durian, and eggplant. So there's a couple of methods that we've talked about here. We've talked about the add method. We've talked about the get method, which allows me to get an element at a particular index. We've also talked about the remove method, which allows me to remove an element at a particular thing. There's a couple of other things that we can do here. Now I can continue to treat this as an array. I can try and move the objects over, but the add method actually has something that I can do. Let's say I didn't want to remove apple from there. It was a mistake. What I can do is I can tell AL to add in position 0 apple. And what that should do is that should put apple back in position 0. So now if I system.out.println AL, now I have my list with apple, banana, cantaloupe, durian, and eggplant. So this allows me to put different objects in different positions, and everything else just kind of gets shuffled down. If I wanted to do AL.add at position 3 a fig, and then system.out.println AL, I can do that. And so what I should have is apple, banana, cantaloupe, and then fig, starting at position 3, which is really the 4th element of my list. That's now a fig, and everything else has been shuffled down. But you know what? That makes a horrible order. So what I want to do is I want to take position 3, and I actually want to change it, because it's not in alphabetical order anymore. And I like my fruit in alphabetical order. That's how I eat it. So I'm going to use this last method we're going to talk about, called set. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set position 3 to a cherimoya. And so now if I system.out.println AL, I should have a nice set of fruit that's in order. I've got my apple, my banana, my cantaloupe, my cherimoya, my durian, and my eggplant. So I've got this wonderful system here. What's important to realize is that this array list is not an array. It happens to have a private data in a private data variable that is an array, what we call an instance variable or a field. But it's private. We can't access the array directly. All that we can do is we can use these public methods like add and remove and get and set in order to get the elements in this array. Do is I can put this in a loop. So I'm going to set up a loop. So for int I gets 0, I is less than, and I want to figure out how long this array is. I'm not going to use length though, because length is an instance variable of the array, which is private. I need a public accessor, and the public accessor for an array list is size. And so I'm going to say if I is less than al.size, I plus plus, and I'm going to system.out.print, and I'm going to print al.get whatever is at I plus comma space, and so this looks like a fence post type problem. So I'm going to start with an appropriate print, and I'm going to start with a \n I like, and I'm going to print all of my fruits, and then I'm going to print one last fruit. System.out.print line and grapefruit. Period. Now if I run this, process completed. Notice I've got this sentence down here. I like apple, banana, cantaloupe, cherimoya, durian, eggplant, and grapefruit. Probably shouldn't put that space there, but that's a minor fix. Probably should also capitalize grapefruit because apparently I've Germaned all my fruit here. So the important methods that we've talked about. We've talked about the add method. And this adds an object to the end of the array list. Or I can do add with an index. And what this does is it add for an index and data. What this does is this adds an object at that location, shifting the other elements. Remember that all of my other elements, when I inserted fig in here, got shifted down. I have a way of accessing the data. With the get method, and what this does is get at an index is going to get the object at a particular index. And we saw down here that I could actually traverse in a loop. I can do get in a loop to get those things. We'll actually talk about another way to do this later on in a later lesson. We also have the ability to remove, and what remove at a particular index does is it removes the item from the array, and it shifts elements back. So when I removed apple, notice that banana and cantaloupe and durian and eggplant all got shifted back in time. And then we also had the set method. And set, this is also with index and data. This is going to change an element in the array to the new data element. So we have lots of things that we can do to manipulate an array list. And array lists are much more powerful than just having the array. For one, the actual array structure, the array that we're dealing with is kind of locked in a private variable, but because we have this robust system of methods to deal with it, add and get and set and remove and size, we can interact with this, and we don't have to worry about manipulating the size of the array or manipulating the elements in the array. The code does this for us. We have a set of methods that work for us to use here. We've got the add, the get, the remove, the set. We have the size method. And what size does is it determines the size of the array. So we've got lots of different things that we can do to manipulate this array list. And it is one of the most important structures we're going to be dealing with. Probably the only limitation that we have is this notion of templating, the fact that we have to tell it what type it is at the beginning. And something that's not necessarily as bad, but it's still something to consider, is that this has to be a class, which means that all of our primitives are going to have issues, ints and doubles and booleans and chars. We're going to have to find a way to deal with those, which we'll talk about in a later episode. But for now, it's important to be comfortable with these methods, to be able to manipulate a list of data, to be able to change the size of the array list, to be able to put stuff in, take stuff out, mix stuff around, remove stuff, get stuff, change stuff in the middle if we need to, insert stuff in the middle if we need to, and the array list really does allow us to do all that. So once again, this is Mr. Potter. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.